Bikers laugh at farmers' boots until they meet his neighbor. In the heart of a sleepy rural town, a group of bikers known as the Shadowhounds roared into the dusty parking lot of a roadside farm stand. The stand, a simple wooden structure adorned with colorful produce, belonged to Henry Lawson, an elderly farmer who had been tending to his land for decades. As Henry emerged from behind the stand, the bikers couldn't help but notice his worn-out boots and muddy overalls. Their leader, a burly man with a thick beard and leather jacket, let out a mocking laugh. "Well, look what we have here, boys. A real-life scarecrow." The other bikers joined in, their laughter echoing through the quiet countryside. They began to make crude jokes about Henry's old-fashioned ways, poking fun at his simple life and humble appearance. Henry, his weathered face showing no sign of anger or frustration, simply continued his work. He methodically arranged the fresh vegetables on the stand, his calloused hands moving with practiced precision. The bikers, taking his silence as a sign of weakness, only intensified their mockery. "Hey, old man, you ever think about upgrading those boots? Maybe get yourself some real shoes," one of the bikers taunted, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Henry paused for a moment, his blue eyes meeting the biker's gaze. "These boots have served me well for many years," he said, his voice calm and steady. "They've walked through fields and forests, through rain and shine. They're a part of me, just like this land." The bikers exchanged glances, unsure how to respond to Henry's unwavering composure. They had expected him to cower or lash out, but instead, he stood tall and proud, his dignity intact. Little did they know that Henry's neighbor, a man they wouldn't dare cross, was about to teach them a lesson they would never forget. As the bikers continued their relentless mockery, a sleek, black luxury car pulled into the farm stand's parking lot. The vehicle's pristine condition and polished chrome stood in stark contrast to the dusty, rugged surroundings. The bikers, momentarily distracted from their taunting, watched as the car door opened, and a well-dressed man stepped out. The man, in his mid-50s, exuded an air of confidence and authority. His tailored suit, impeccable posture, and piercing gaze commanded respect. As he approached the farm stand, the bikers began to whisper among themselves, wondering who this mysterious figure could be. Henry, upon seeing the man, broke into a warm smile. "Emmanuel," he called out, his voice filled with genuine affection. "It's good to see you, my friend." Emmanuel King, the powerful and well-respected businessman, known for his influence far beyond the town, strode up to Henry and embraced him like a long-lost brother. The bikers watched in stunned silence as the two men exchanged pleasantries, their laughter and easy banter a stark contrast to the earlier tension. As Emmanuel turned to face the bikers, his expression hardened. "Gentlemen," he said, his voice calm but firm, "I couldn't help but overhear your conversation with my dear friend Henry here." The bikers, suddenly realizing the gravity of their mistake, began to shift uncomfortably. Some averted their eyes, while others tried to maintain an air of bravado. Emmanuel continued, "I think it's time you learned exactly who you've been disrespecting." He placed a hand on Henry's shoulder, a gesture of support and camaraderie. "This man, whom you so carelessly mocked, is not just a farmer. He's a respected landowner and a mentor to some of the most powerful figures in the region, myself included." The bikers, their false confidence rapidly crumbling, listened in stunned silence as Emmanuel began to reveal the true extent of Henry's influence and the depth of their friendship. Emmanuel's words hung in the air, the weight of his revelation settling upon the bikers like a heavy fog. They stood motionless, their eyes wide with a mixture of shock and embarrassment. The realization that they had been mocking not just a simple farmer, but a man of great influence and respect, slowly sank in. Henry, his weathered face softening, spoke up. "You see, gentlemen, these boots you laughed at have walked through decades of hard work and determination. They've carried me through the toughest times and the most joyous moments. They're a testament to the life I've built, the relationships I've nurtured, and the legacy I've created." Emmanuel nodded in agreement, his eyes filled with admiration for his lifelong friend. Henry's boots are a symbol of his unwavering commitment to this land and its people. They represent the countless hours he spent tending to his crops, mentoring young farmers, and giving back to the community that has supported him throughout the years. The bikers, their egos deflated and their arrogance replaced by a growing sense of shame, began to murmur apologies. Some shuffled their feet, unable to meet Henry's gaze, while others hung their heads in quiet contemplation. Henry, his voice gentle yet firm, addressed the group once more. "I don't hold any ill feelings towards you, boys. We all make mistakes and pass judgments based on appearances. But let this be a lesson to you. True wealth and power aren't measured by the clothes we wear or the possessions we own. They're measured by the impact we have on the lives of those around us, by the kindness and respect we show to others." As the bikers absorbed Henry's words, a profound silence settled over the farm stand. The only sounds were the gentle rustling of leaves in the breeze and the distant chirping of birds. In that moment, the bikers began to see Henry in a new light, not as a simple farmer, but as a man of great wisdom and character. The bikers, their bravado thoroughly dismantled, found themselves at a crossroads. Some, deeply ashamed of their behavior, stepped forward to offer sincere apologies to Henry and Emmanuel. They shook Henry's calloused hand, their eyes conveying a newfound respect for the man they had so carelessly mocked. Others, still grappling with their bruised egos, quietly slipped away from the farm stand. They mounted their motorcycles and rode off into the distance, the roar of their engines fading into the tranquil countryside. Though they may not have voiced their regret, the weight of their actions hung heavily upon their shoulders. Henry, his heart full of compassion, watched as the bikers dispersed. He turned to Emmanuel, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "You know, my friend, I can't help but feel a sense of hope for those young men. Perhaps this experience will be the catalyst for change in their lives." Emmanuel, his eyes twinkling with a mix of amusement and admiration, replied, "That's the thing about you, Henry. You always see the best in people, even when they've shown you their worst. It's one of the many reasons why you're so respected and loved in this community." As the two friends stood side by side, the farm stand seemed to take on a new significance. It was no longer just a place to buy fresh produce, it had become a symbol of the enduring power of kindness, humility, and the unbreakable bonds of friendship. The sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a warm, golden glow across the land. Henry and Emmanuel, their hearts filled with gratitude for the lessons of the day, knew that the seeds of change had been planted. They could only hope that, in time, those seeds would grow into a harvest of understanding, compassion, and unity. And so, as the day drew to a close, the story of the bikers and the farmer's boots became a tale that would be shared for generations to come, a reminder that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the strength of one's character and the depth of one's relationships. As the days turned into weeks, the impact of Henry and Emmanuel's encounter with the bikers began to ripple through the quiet rural town. The story of the farmer's boots and the powerful businessman's friendship spread like wildfire, igniting a spark of inspiration in the hearts of the community. At the local diner, patrons gathered over steaming cups of coffee and plates of homemade apple pie, recounting the tale with a mix of awe and admiration. They spoke of Henry's unwavering grace in the face of adversity and Emmanuel's fierce loyalty to his lifelong friend. Slowly but surely, the town began to embrace the lessons that Henry and Emmanuel had so poignantly demonstrated. Neighbors who had once kept to themselves started to reach out to one another, offering helping hands and kind words. The local youth, moved by the story of the bikers' transformation, began to volunteer their time at the farm stand, eager to learn from Henry's wisdom and experience. As the community grew closer, Henry and Emmanuel watched with pride as the seeds of change they had planted began to take root. They spent long hours at the farm stand, not just selling produce, but also sharing their stories and offering guidance to those who sought it. One particularly warm afternoon, as the two friends sat in the shade of an old oak tree, Emmanuel turned to Henry with a thoughtful expression. "You know, my friend, I can't help but feel that our encounter with those bikers was a turning point for this town. It's as if their transformation sparked a chain reaction of kindness and unity." Henry, his eyes crinkling with a smile, nodded in agreement. "It's amazing what can happen when people open their hearts and minds to the power of compassion and understanding. Those bikers may have come here to mock and intimidate, but they left with a valuable lesson that will stay with them forever." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow across the farm stand, Henry and Emmanuel knew that their work was far from over. The journey towards a more united and compassionate community had only just begun. As the weeks passed, the transformation that had begun with the bikers' encounter continued to gain momentum. The once sleepy rural town buzzed with a newfound energy, as residents embraced the spirit of unity and compassion that Henry and Emmanuel had inspired. One morning, as Henry tended to his crops, he noticed a group of local teenagers approaching the farm stand. Among them was Jack, a young man who had been struggling to find his place in the world. With a hesitant smile, Jack stepped forward and asked if he could lend a hand. Henry, his heart swelling with pride, welcomed Jack with open arms. Together, they worked side by side, planting seeds and harvesting vegetables. As they labored under the warm sun, Henry shared stories of his own struggles and triumphs, offering Jack the guidance and support he so desperately needed. Meanwhile, Emmanuel was busy putting his business acumen to work for the benefit of the community. He partnered with local entrepreneurs, helping them to expand their operations and create new job opportunities for the town's residents. His efforts soon bore fruit, as small businesses began to thrive and the local economy flourished. As the community continued to grow and evolve, Henry and Emmanuel found themselves at the center of a powerful movement. They organized town meetings and events, bringing people together to share their experiences and ideas. Through these gatherings, the residents discovered a shared sense of purpose and a deep appreciation for the bonds that connected them. One evening, as the two friends sat on Henry's porch, sipping iced tea and watching the sunset, Emmanuel turned to Henry with a contented smile. "You know, my friend, I never could have imagined that a simple act of standing up to those bikers would have led to all of this. It's a testament to the power of kindness and the resilience of the human spirit." Henry, his eyes twinkling with wisdom, replied, "It just goes to show that even the smallest actions can have a profound impact. We may not always see the ripples we create, but they have the power to change lives and transform communities." As the town continued to thrive under the guidance of Henry and Emmanuel, a new challenge emerged. A severe drought had struck the region, threatening the livelihoods of the local farmers and the food security of the community. Henry, his brow furrowed with concern, spent long hours in his fields, carefully tending to his crops and searching for ways to conserve water. Despite his best efforts, the lack of rain took its toll, and his once bountiful harvest began to wither. Emmanuel, ever the problem solver, rallied the community to find a solution. He organized a town meeting, inviting experts in sustainable agriculture and water conservation to share their knowledge and insights. The residents listened intently, their minds whirring with ideas and possibilities. In the days that followed, the community sprang into action. They implemented water-saving techniques in their homes and gardens, and they pooled their resources to invest in drought-resistant crops and efficient irrigation systems. Henry and Emmanuel led by example, demonstrating the power of collaboration and innovation in the face of adversity. As the weeks passed, the town's efforts began to pay off. The crops, though still strained by the lack of rain, showed signs of resilience and growth. The residents, united in their determination to overcome the drought, found strength in their shared purpose and unwavering support for one another. One afternoon, as Henry and Emmanuel surveyed the fields, a glimmer of hope appeared on the horizon. Dark clouds, heavy with the promise of rain, began to gather in the sky. The two friends exchanged a look of cautious optimism, their hearts filled with a mix of relief and gratitude. As the first drops of rain began to fall, the town erupted in celebration. Residents poured out of their homes, dancing in the streets and embracing one another with tears of joy. Henry and Emmanuel, their faces turned towards the sky, knew that the rain was more than just a reprieve from the drought, it was a symbol of the community's resilience and the power of their collective spirit. In that moment, as the rain washed over the land, the town knew that they could weather any storm, as long as they stood together. With the drought finally behind them, the town turned its attention to a new project, the creation of a community garden. The idea had been born during one of the town meetings, as residents discussed ways to strengthen their bond and promote sustainability. Henry and Emmanuel, eager to support the initiative, donated a portion of their land for the garden. They worked alongside their neighbors, tilling the soil and planting the first seeds. As the garden began to take shape, it became a symbol of the town's unity and resilience. Each day, residents of all ages gathered in the garden, tending to the plants and sharing stories of their lives. Children, their hands covered in dirt and their faces beaming with pride, learned the value of hard work and the joy of watching something grow. The elderly, their wisdom and experience guiding the younger generations, found a renewed sense of purpose in nurturing the garden. As the plants flourished, so too did the connections between the townspeople. The garden became a hub of activity, hosting potluck dinners and community events. Laughter and conversation filled the air, as neighbors who had once been strangers became friends and confidants. Henry and Emmanuel, watching the transformation unfold, knew that the garden was more than just a patch of land. It was a testament to the power of community and the importance of nurturing the seeds of change. One evening, as the sun began to set over the garden, Henry turned to Emmanuel with a contented smile. "You know, my friend, I can't help but think back to that day with the bikers. Who would have thought that a simple act of standing up for what's right could have led to all of this?" Emmanuel, his eyes twinkling with pride, replied, "It just goes to show that every action, no matter how small, has the potential to create something beautiful. This garden, like our community, is a living reminder of the power of kindness and the strength that comes from standing together." As the town continued to grow and thrive, the community garden stood as a beacon of hope and a testament to the enduring spirit of a people united by love and compassion. As the months passed, the community garden blossomed into a vibrant oasis, drawing visitors from far and wide. The town's reputation for kindness and resilience spread, and soon, people from neighboring communities began to seek out Henry and Emmanuel's guidance. One such visitor was Sarah, a young woman from a troubled city neighborhood. She had heard tales of the town's transformation and had come in search of hope and inspiration. As she walked through the garden, marveling at the lush greenery and the sense of peace that permeated the air, she couldn't help but feel a glimmer of possibility. Henry, noticing the young woman's curiosity, approached her with a warm smile. "Welcome to our garden," he said, his voice filled with genuine warmth. "Is there something we can help you with?" Sarah, her eyes brimming with tears, poured out her story, a tale of hardship, violence, and despair. She spoke of the challenges faced by her community and the desperate need for change. Henry and Emmanuel listened intently, their hearts aching for the young woman and her neighbors. They knew that the path to transformation was never easy, but they also knew that it was possible. Over the next few weeks, Henry and Emmanuel worked closely with Sarah, sharing their experiences and offering guidance and support. They helped her to organize community meetings and to forge connections with local leaders and organizations. Slowly but surely, Sarah's neighborhood began to change. Residents, inspired by the tales of the rural town's transformation, started to come together, planting their own community gardens and organizing events to promote unity and understanding. As the seeds of change took root, Sarah found herself at the center of a growing movement. She worked tirelessly, alongside her neighbors, to create a brighter future for their community. The once troubled streets began to fill with laughter and joy, as children played in the gardens and families gathered for shared meals. Henry and Emmanuel, their hearts filled with pride, watched as Sarah's neighborhood blossomed. They knew that the journey was far from over, but they also knew that the power of kindness and compassion could transform even the most challenging of circumstances. One afternoon, as Sarah walked through her community's garden, she paused to reflect on the incredible changes she had witnessed. The once barren land was now a thriving oasis, filled with life and color. The faces of her neighbors, once etched with despair, now shone with hope and determination. As she knelt to tend to a small seedling, Sarah felt a hand on her shoulder. She looked up to see Henry, his eyes twinkling with wisdom and understanding. "You've done something remarkable here, Sarah," he said, his voice filled with warmth. "You've shown your community the power of resilience and the strength that comes from standing together." Sarah, her heart swelling with gratitude, smiled up at the elderly farmer. "I couldn't have done it without you and Emmanuel," she replied, her voice trembling with emotion. "You showed me that change is possible, no matter how daunting the challenges may seem." As the sun began to set over the garden, casting a golden glow across the land, Sarah knew that her work was just beginning. But with the support of her community and the guidance of her mentors, she knew that anything was possible. As word of Sarah's success spread, Henry and Emmanuel found themselves inundated with requests for guidance and support from communities far and wide. They knew that they couldn't be everywhere at once, but they also knew that they had a responsibility to share their wisdom and experience with those who needed it most. And so, they began to travel, visiting towns and cities across the country, sharing their stories and offering guidance to those who sought to create positive change in their own communities. They spoke at town halls and community centers, their words inspiring hope and igniting the spark of transformation in the hearts of those who listened. Back in their own town, the community continued to thrive. The garden had become a symbol of unity and resilience, a testament to the power of collective action and the importance of nurturing the seeds of change. One evening, as Henry and Emmanuel sat on the porch of the farm stand, reflecting on the incredible journey they had undertaken, a young man approached them. It was Jack, the teenager who had once sought Henry's guidance in the garden. Jack, his eyes shining with determination, sat down beside the two friends. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice filled with conviction, "about all the things you've taught me, about the power of kindness and the importance of standing up for what's right." Henry and Emmanuel exchanged a knowing glance, their hearts filled with pride at the young man's words. "And what have you concluded, Jack?" Emmanuel asked, his voice gentle and encouraging. "I want to do more," Jack replied, his voice growing stronger with each word. "I want to make a difference, not just here, but in other communities as well. I want to be like you, to inspire others and to help create a better world." Henry, his eyes glistening with tears of joy, placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. "My boy," he said, his voice filled with emotion, "you already are like us. You have the power within you to create change, to make a difference in the lives of others. Never forget that." As the three sat together, the sun setting over the horizon, they knew that the journey of transformation was far from over. But with the power of kindness and the strength of community, anything was possible. As Henry and Emmanuel's influence continued to grow, they knew that the time had come to pass the torch to the next generation of leaders. They had seen the potential in Jack and in so many others, and they knew that the future of their community and of the world lay in their hands. One crisp autumn morning, Henry and Emmanuel gathered the town together in the community garden. The air was filled with a sense of anticipation, as residents of all ages waited to hear what the two wise men had to say. Henry, his voice strong and clear, addressed the crowd. "My friends," he began, his eyes scanning the faces before him, "Emmanuel and I have been blessed to watch this community grow and thrive. We have seen the power of kindness and compassion, and we have witnessed the incredible transformation that can occur when people come together in the spirit of unity and love." Emmanuel, stepping forward, continued. "But the time has come for us to step back, to allow a new generation of leaders to take the reins. We have seen the potential in so many of you, and we know that the future of this community and of the world lies in your hands." A hush fell over the crowd as Jack stepped forward, his eyes shining with determination. "Henry and Emmanuel," he said, his voice filled with emotion, "you have taught us so much. You have shown us the power of resilience and the importance of standing up for what's right. And now, it's our turn to carry that message forward, to inspire others as you have inspired us." As the crowd erupted in applause, Henry and Emmanuel looked on with pride. They knew that the seeds they had planted so long ago had taken root and blossomed into something truly beautiful. In the days and weeks that followed, Jack and the other young leaders of the community began to take on more responsibility. They organized events and initiatives, working tirelessly to promote unity and compassion. And as they did so, they carried with them the wisdom and guidance of Henry and Emmanuel, the two men who had shown them the power of transformation. As the years passed, the town continued to flourish under the leadership of Jack and his peers. The community garden, once a symbol of hope and resilience, had grown into a thriving hub of activity, a place where people of all ages and backgrounds came together to share in the bounty of the earth. Henry and Emmanuel, though no longer at the forefront of the movement, remained a constant presence in the lives of the townspeople. They could often be found sitting on the porch of the farm stand, sharing stories and offering guidance to those who sought their wisdom. One warm summer evening, as the sun began to set over the horizon, Jack made his way to the farm stand. His heart was heavy with the weight of a decision he knew he must make. As he approached the two old friends, Henry looked up, a knowing smile on his face. "What troubles you, my boy?" he asked, his voice filled with gentle concern. Jack, his eyes filled with tears, sat down beside them. "I've been offered a job," he said, his voice trembling, "in the city. It's an opportunity to make a real difference, to bring the lessons we've learned here to a wider audience." Emmanuel, his hand resting on Jack's shoulder, spoke softly. "And what does your heart tell you, Jack?" Jack, his voice growing stronger, replied, "My heart tells me that I have to go, that I have a responsibility to share what I've learned with others. But it also tells me that I will always carry a piece of this town, of this community, with me wherever I go." Henry, his eyes shining with pride, nodded. "You have learned well, my boy. You have the power within you to create change, to inspire others as we have inspired you. And no matter where you go, you will always have a home here, in the hearts of those who love you." As Jack prepared to leave, the town gathered to bid him farewell. There were tears and hugs, laughter and promises to stay in touch. And as he drove away, the farm stand growing smaller in his rearview mirror, Jack knew that he carried with him the strength and wisdom of a community that had shown him the true meaning of transformation. Years turned into decades, and the town continued to thrive. The community garden, now a cherished landmark, stood as a testament to the enduring power of kindness and compassion. The children who had once played in its soil had grown into adults, their own children now learning the lessons of resilience and unity. Henry and Emmanuel, their hair now silver and their steps a bit slower, remained the heart and soul of the community. Though they no longer worked the land, their presence was felt in every corner of the town, in every smile and every act of kindness. One crisp autumn day, as the leaves began to turn and the air grew cool, Jack returned to the town of his youth. He had been gone for many years, his work taking him to cities and communities across the country. But he had never forgotten the lessons he had learned, the wisdom he had gained from Henry and Emmanuel. As he drove down the familiar streets, memories flooding back with each passing mile, Jack felt a sense of homecoming. He had carried a piece of this town with him always, a reminder of the power of transformation and the importance of standing up for what was right. When he reached the farm stand, he found Henry and Emmanuel waiting for him, their faces lined with age but their eyes still bright with the fire of conviction. They embraced him, their laughter mingling with tears of joy. As they sat together on the porch, sharing stories of the years gone by, Jack knew that he had come full circle. He had left this town a young man, full of hope and determination. He returned a leader, a man who had made a difference in the world. And as the sun began to set over the horizon, casting a golden glow over the fields and gardens, Jack knew that the legacy of Henry and Emmanuel would live on, not just in him, but in the hearts and minds of all those they had touched. Their message of hope and transformation, of the power of kindness and compassion, would endure, a shining beacon in a world that so often seemed full of darkness. As the years continued to pass, the town remained a symbol of hope and resilience, a shining example of what was possible when people came together in the spirit of unity and love. The community garden, now a cherished landmark, stood as a testament to the enduring power of transformation, a reminder that even the smallest seeds of change could grow into something truly remarkable. Henry and Emmanuel, their bodies now frail but their spirits as strong as ever, knew that their time on this earth was drawing to a close. But they also knew that their legacy would live on, carried forward by the countless lives they had touched and the countless hearts they had inspired. One warm summer evening, as the sun began to set over the horizon, Henry and Emmanuel called Jack to their side. They sat together on the porch of the farm stand, the place where it had all begun so many years ago. "Jack," Henry said, his voice soft but filled with conviction, "we have watched you grow into a leader, a man of courage and compassion. You have carried our message to the world, and you have made a difference in the lives of so many." Emmanuel, his hand resting on Jack's arm, continued. "And now, it is time for us to pass the torch to you, to entrust you with the future of this community and of the world. We know that you will lead with wisdom and grace, and that you will continue to inspire others as we have inspired you." Jack, his eyes filled with tears, nodded. "I will carry your message forward," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. I will continue to fight for what is right, to stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. And I will always remember the lessons you have taught me, the power of kindness and compassion, of unity and love." As the three sat together, the stars twinkling overhead, they knew that the journey of transformation was not over, but rather, was just beginning. And with the power of hope and the strength of community, anything was possible.